Hey everyone, how are you? Thank you for joining me live. It's Naomi Wolf, and I'm reading today from the second essay I wrote about Doge and what I see as a massive, and what many cybersecurity sites and commentators see as the massive cybersecurity implications of the way Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, has accessed our records, our data, our government, essentially. So I'm going to read it. This is the second in a series of two essays. The first one was called The Sack of Rome, and this is called How Not to Be a Patriot. And they've been getting kind of global attention. I'm actually flying to India in about a week to a tech conference to talk about it there. I've been contacted by various technical sites, digital sites, who understand that the warnings I'm issuing as a CEO of a tech company are real. No one has said I'm wrong. All right. It's getting lots of blowback. As you know, I've had a wave. Well, you'll hear in this essay, I've had a wave of, criticism and cancellations and, denial of support. And people are saying they think I'm not being sufficiently supportive of this administration by raising these criticisms. But this essay also explains why you're not being a good patriot if you don't raise your criticisms. So let me cover up modestly, and then I can go ahead and begin. How not to be a patriot. Why your favorite president does not need your blind allegiance. I recently wrote an essay titled The Sack of Rome about my deep concerns about how Elon Musk and his team of young engineers, including one who had earlier released private data, were handling their investigations at the Department of Government Efficiency. My argument was that Doge can obtain for President Trump all of the riveting headlines that many Americans, including me, are cheering related to ferreting out fraud and abuse and waste without taking the crazy risks with our data or causing the potentially terminal damage to our cybersecurity that they appear to be taking. Since I raised these questions about the nature of the Doge NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, which would keep our data private, non-competes, quote unquote, which would protect the intellectual property paid for by our tax dollars, and I asked why there was a cloud computing guy with Musk, and I asked whose AI would be let loose upon the most valuable and pristine data set in the world, I have been called a lot of names online, and sadly have also sustained a plethora of cancellations of subscriptions and donations, both here and at Daily Clout, from former supporters who are very clear that they are upset with me for criticizing Doge. But no one yet has said I am wrong. No one. Indeed, economist Catherine Austin Fitts, from her own experience managing hundreds of billions of dollars at HUD, added dimensions to my warnings and amplified my concerns, and I linked to our podcast. In this update, I warned that the issues I raised in my last essay have become, if anything, even more serious. I cautioned you in my last essay that, quote, read-only access to our data could mean machine reading, and that it could also mean copying. I also warned you that people bring engineers rather than analysts or policy experts to a context such as Musk's review of various data sets at various government agencies, not because they want to look at evidence and bring it to the president, but because they want to change things, delete things, or build things. Engineers do not help people understand a government program, summarize it, or take notes. Engineers change, delete, and build digital content. That is what engineers do. I feel like Cassandra, yet again, in trying to explain to a largely non-technical world what a massive red flag this very basic fact of the professional makeup of Musk's team represents. We, that is Daily Clout, my digital technology company, are a company that is doing something much like what Musk claimed he wanted to do. That is, we review government data sets, we summarize them, and we lift out for scrutiny the ones to which we want the world to pay attention. This was supposed to be Doge's mission going in. We have a lot of people with various policy-related skill sets who help us to do that. But literally the only time I would pick up the phone and engage coders is when I want to change, build, or delete something. Now, predictably, after the initial mad rush of digital plunder and the fusillade of giddy press announcements, come the retractions. The New York Times announced that, quote, Doge quietly deletes the 5 biggest spending cuts it celebrated last week, end quote. Musk and team evidently misread various contracts and drew erroneous conclusions about them in a way that inaccurately inflated the total amount they claimed that they were saving US taxpayers. There is also a fracturing away from a Doge consensus becoming evident now, as I knew it eventually would, among the top level of President Trump's advisors. And that is a good thing. Surrounding President Trump now are people at least as distinguished and brilliant as Mr. Musk, Kash Patel at the FBI, and Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Others are joining them in resisting the Doge demands. Musk apparently asked all of their teams to describe in an email 5 things the employees had done in the past week that they see as accomplishments. And I'm just noting that by now I usually have thousands of people watching live on all platforms. And my biggest platform is X, which of course is owned and run and algorithmed by Musk and his colleagues. And there's triple digits of people watching. So there's evidently some shadow banning already of this live stream. Musk also asked them to CC their manager. This may seem superficially like a bracing exercise in accountability imported from the private sector, and various TikTok videos are making that case. But thankfully, there are grown-ups at those agencies who stepped on the brakes. The description in the Daily Mail of this behind-the-scenes rebellion is pithy and important. Quote, Tulsi Gabbard became the latest Trump official to defy, quote, first buddy, end quote, Elon Musk, after he emailed federal workers demanding they list and explain 5 things they accomplished last week. Trump's newly minted intelligence chief joined FBI Director Kash Patel and a growing list of department heads who have told their employees to ignore the request from Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, and that's Doge. Musk's email ordered workers to reply to the message with 5 bullets detailing all of their accomplishments at work in the past week and to CC their manager. Gabbard, the new director of national intelligence, sent a blunt message to officials in her department about Doge's request. Quote, given the inherently sensitive and classified nature of our work, IC, meaning intelligence community employees, should not respond to the OPM, Office of Personnel Management email, read the message from the former Hawaii Congresswoman. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Department of Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem have also told employees to disregard. The billionaire Tesla founder simply claimed on Sunday he was eager, quote, to see who had a pulse and 2 working neurons, end quote, amid claims that some government employees are barely working or checking their emails. Ellipsis. Patel made the biggest splash in defying Musk, making it clear that the FBI, quote, is in charge of all of our review processes and will conduct reviews in accordance with FBI procedures, end quote. Quote, when and if further information is required, we will coordinate the responses. For now, please pause any responses, end quote, he wrote. Patel's interference is one of his first moves as the new head of the FBI, offering a glimpse at potential rifts within the MAGA world as Musk continues tearing apart the federal government. When he sent the original email earlier Saturday, Musk also took to his X platform to threaten any employees that do not reply to him with termination. And here I have reproduced an email from Kash Patel, FBI director, that says all FBI personnel may have received an email from OPM requesting information. And it is the quote that I read to you above, basically saying don't respond. People have to understand what is at stake with Elon Musk, and this is me talking again, soliciting emails such as these, especially with the questions I raised about NDAs, meaning non-disclosure agreements, non-competes, meaning agreements that you won't take what you learn and use it to compete with that entity, meaning the federal government, cloud storage, meaning a giant space in the ether in which vast amounts of data can be stored, and AI ownership still unanswered. Patel, Gabbard, Rubio, Noam, and Hegseth understand what most Americans appear not to. They understand what I have been trying to warn you about, the concerns that have regrettably led me to receive abuse online and in my inbox from some of my new friends on the right, just as I had from my old friends on the left when I raised questions about the safety of the mRNA injections. If intelligence, defense, and law enforcement agencies emailed their work to Musk, this would be a massive national security breach. For Musk, even to solicit these responses is a massive national security breach, one unprecedented in our nation's history. Why do I say this? Let me take a deep breath and again try to explain artificial intelligence. Hey parents, I have an early Christmas and holiday gift for you. We've all been there. 1 minute your child is bouncing off the walls, perfectly healthy, and an hour later, this child is very sick. You feel helpless, and it can turn your plans upside down, especially on vacation. After thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has just launched the Kids Emergency Medical Kit. You no longer have to deal with emergency illnesses in a panic. Now you can have 6 critical medications at your fingertips to treat 20 plus illnesses for issues children have, such as strep throat, ear infections, lice, and respiratory illnesses. You can avoid urgent care and hospitals. The Kids Emergency Kit has been hand-selected by the wellness company's medical board and includes chewable amoxicillin, dissolvable ivermectin, and an optional EpiPen and more. This also includes a detailed guidebook guiding you step by step in emergencies. Ordering this kit is simple. Only parents can order for their children. Fill out an intake form and you will get a verification call for consent. Then it's delivered to your door. Don't wait till you're in the middle of a crisis and avoid late night urgent care runs. Order your kids' emergency kit today and remove panic from your life. And if 1 or 2 of the prescriptions run out, there's a replenishment option to restock only what you need. Go to dailyclouthealth.com and grab your kids' emergency kit right now. Use code DailyClout to save up to $40 at checkout. These kits are only available in the USA. Thank you. AI is not just a cute chat GPT functionality, though that is how the broligarchs, especially Musk, are seeking to represent it. It seems that whoever thinks it is a good idea to let Musk tear through all of our government's data sets does not understand AI in the least. AI isn't just something that helps you write a better high school essay while doing less work in actually understanding Romeo and Juliet. AI isn't like Pac-Man, a cute digital creature that should just be let loose by a genius bazillionaire onto our nation's records to eat through our stodgy, boring government databases and lift out the tasty bits of fraud, waste, and scandal. I don't know what misrepresentations and misstatements are being told at the highest levels now about AI, but the dangers of it obviously are not being communicated adequately to the president and his advisors. AI has specific owners. It is not owner neutral, and we are in an arms race regarding AI. AI, please pay very close attention to this paragraph. AI liberates information in a way that can never be retrieved. It also liberates information in a way that creates a complete lack of human accountability. I really hope you process those 2 sentences. They're really important. The AI that Musk intends to use or is using, indeed the machine learning, does not belong to the United States government from anything that I have seen. It is not ours. It's not our AI. If we don't own it, we don't own what is done with it. Meaning, it is likely to be Musk's AI and his machine learning algorithms, or those of aligned colleagues of his. But whose is it, in fact? Whose code? Where does it live? What GitHub, the usual repository for code? Who owns the IP, meaning intellectual property? Does the US government own it, or does Musk himself own it? These are really important questions. Nothing I have read appears to answer this. So understand how serious this is, please. Understand that when Musk scans the emailed responses of what I did this week from hundreds of thousands of government employees into a database and then sets his own machine learning algorithms onto that data set, he is eating all of our secrets and he is liberating them out of the secure government settings in which they had been held, and then making whatever happens next with those secrets not humanly accountable. Patel and Gabbard and colleagues were absolutely right to tell their teams not to respond to this request from Musk. If Musk has a database of answers from FBI employees about what they did that week, he can set his machine learning program onto that data set and easily extract, say, all operations against Chinese terrorist sleeper cells in this country, and in theory, hand these in a neat package to China. Or, depending on where the data set lives, Chinese operatives can, in theory, access it by themselves. Or Musk, or his young engineers, one of whom already leaked secrets improperly, can do a search and extract all the undercover operations against cartels in the US that are selling fentanyl in our most vulnerable neighborhoods, and then hand these over to the cartels. With machine reading applied to these emails, Musk will have cracked open all of the secrets of all of the United States of America simultaneously, at massive scale, in a way that no actual spy in history could possibly manage or ever has managed. Undercover agents in many operations who are actually saving our country from bad things that could happen to us or that are happening to us will die. It is very easy to hate government opacity, and I hate it too. Far too many things are classified. Everything that is not needed for actual national security should, of course, be exposed to sunlight. But there really are American men and women in this country and around the world who put their lives on the line every day to embed themselves domestically in drug running gangs or in human trafficking rings, or who are stationed overseas in NOC, that is non-official cover roles, presenting as scientists or business people or aid workers, but who are actually facilitating dangerous operations to disrupt the manufacture of nuclear weapons by our enemies, as intelligence agent Valerie Plame did undercover, keeping nuclear weapons from Iran, or the activities of real sleeper cells of real terrorists in the United States who really do mean to harm us. All such secrets will be in Doge's machine-read database if government workers in those roles respond to Musk's email, and then where will those secrets go? I also want to respond to the many posts and emails criticizing me for warning the president, whom I support, about these dangers. And by the way, I don't have a relationship with this administration. I'm not an advisor. I don't have a direct line. Obviously, I would issue these warnings in private if I did, but failing that, I have to issue them in public. I want to explain why, in my view, you are not being a good patriot if you think you are helping the president by always cheering on everything he does, or by stifling your own or others' criticisms or reservations about specific policies or decisions. Speaking as a former political consultant to a presidential campaign and to a vice president, you cannot imagine the onslaught that a president or VP faces all day, every day. As I have often written, being president or VP is like having 20 locomotives bear down at you from multiple directions every minute of every day. It is a superhuman level of stress, distraction, and a constant unrelenting demand to decide, react, perform. Add to that stress of events the fact that presidents and vice presidents inevitably live in a toxic and problematic bubble. Everyone surrounding them has an agenda, and it is often not the principals, meaning the presidents or the vice presidents. Every approach must be second guessed. Any casual conversation could wind up on the front page of the Washington Post. No one can really be trusted except family, and even then, there are external pressures and internal betrayals. Add to that the fact that everyone surrounding a president or vice president wants to say yes. There is a vast distorting pressure on the advice that any president or VP receives because, in the press of events and nonstop opposition or scrutiny, most advisors naturally tend to reflect the principal's decisions positively, and they wish to bring a best case reading to the meeting room. They also can be swayed by lobbyists, donors, reporters, and others whose pressure is unseen to the president. So the president can't really get a good read on what is really happening in the country. Hey everyone, Naomi Wolf here. How are you doing with your New Year's resolutions? January is here. My start was pretty easy. My resolution was to focus on my well-being, and we all know that the foundation of well-being is a good night's sleep. So if I could do just one thing to improve my sleep and overall well-being, it is taking the number one mineral for sleep, which also helps me personally on so many levels. Yes, I am talking about magnesium. Actually, I am talking about the Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. It's 7 different forms of magnesium in this supplement, which are involved in over 600 different biochemical reactions in the body. Pretty much every function in your body is upgraded when you do take magnesium, from the quality of your sleep for your brain function, metabolism, to your stress levels. And even if your 2025 resolution is not to focus on your health, as mine is, how are you really going to be able to achieve all your goals without quality sleep and stress management support? It's hard to do that. So please do yourself a favor and make Magnesium Breakthrough part of your daily routine this year so you can get the vitality that you need to conquer your dreams. Go to byoptimizers.com/Daily Clout now and enter promo code Daily Clout to get 10% off of any order. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, you will make sure that your monthly supply is guaranteed. Again, that's byoptimizers.com/Daily Clout, promo code Daily Clout. Take care. The media and even polls can be misleading, and polls are expensive. It's too costly to run a poll for every policy or position. In that kind of distortion and chaos, the only breath of authentic grassroots sentiment about presidential actions is what quote unquote ordinary people say directly to the president, or what they say online or in emails and phone calls. So it is not a kindness to your president to censor questions or concerns you may have about a policy or a position. It is patriotic to say what your concerns are, loud and clear, and indeed to speak up as clearly as possible. I've never understood the tendency that many people have to want to assign to their favorite political leaders or presidents something like divine powers, and to assume that these men or women are infallible. I actually suspect that that instinct, that longing to submit completely to an authority figure and to see him or her in a good or evil, all or nothing way, is a psychological vulnerability that probably goes back to childhood, or else is the result of much propaganda. Leaders, including our own very favorite presidents, are not superhuman. They are human beings just like the rest of us. They don't know everything. They need information they may not already have. Like all of us, they can head off in the wrong direction and need and value a course correction. As Catherine Austin Fitts said in our conversation for our interview, quote, "The real campaign starts on election day," end quote. Real patriots realize that our leaders need our feedback, not just on election day, but every day, so that they can take action to give their views to and so they take action to give their views to their leaders in every forum that they can. Real patriots recognize that they themselves are supposed to inform those who represent them. That was how our founders established our system. We are not supposed to be passive on the sidelines, only cheering. Real patriots realize that a democracy is not an act of submission on the part of the voter, but rather it should be a dialogue and a dialectic that never ends. So I hope you understand that I loved my country as much when I tried to warn you about Doge as I did when I tried to warn you about mRNA injections. And I hope you will love your country by continually speaking up, both about what you like and about what you do not like in our leadership's actions, because that is how, in fact, you truly support a president. Thank you very much. Now let's take a look at the comments. Let's see what people are saying. Good morning. Sarah Alspo says, "Hi, Naomi. Thank you for speaking up on all this. Very grateful." I appreciate that, Sarah. There's lots of commentary in Arabic, which looks like spam because it's identical, and I don't read Arabic. And Breezy Vibe says, "I totally agree." And that is literally the extent of the comments that I can see. Usually I get dozens and dozens and dozens of comments, but this is clearly, or I believe that either this podcast is unusually not interesting to my usual audience, or since it got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on Substack, I suspect that there's some digital interference in the reach of this podcast. I just want you to consider, add that to my argument. I'm criticizing the guy who owns the platform that is my biggest platform for communicating with the public. And when you combine that with the kind of power I've just described in the government, you really get, once again, a kind of censorship functionality of the kind that that I suffered under the last administration, when the White House put pressure on Twitter and Facebook to deplatform me, a process for which I just settled with Elon Musk, a settlement I can't disclose to you, but Elon Musk and Twitter knew they did something they shouldn't have done because they settled with me and with President Trump. But just imagine that kind of power, and then imagine, multiplying it by untold factors. As I pointed out in my earlier essay, with all these data sets, you should read the earlier essay to go with this, The Sack of Rome, with all these data sets that Musk and Doge can get from various government departments. And I fully expect him to go on to Medicare to get healthcare records next, and the US Bureau of the Census to get, where you live. And well, he's going into the IRS now, so he knows what everybody makes. By extracting all these data, he can create very easily filters and then put the filters one over the other, right? And add socials, what you're seeing on social media, and payment processing. And literally in 3 hours, you can have a full-scale control grid, even more sophisticated than the Chinese Communist Party's full-scale control grid, in which anyone can be turned on or turned off. And if that's happening, and the red flags I raised in my previous essay, The Sack of Rome, included bringing a cloud computing guy, the only reason for that guy to be there was to hold data, right? That is literally the only function. The fact that these young engineers plug their own devices into government devices or networks, an absolute breach of cybersecurity. The fact that there's been no denial of my concerns from the White House, even though many legacy media outlets and even independent journalists have raised them since I began raising these concerns. The fact that we still don't know if there's an NDA and a non-compete protecting our data, at least in theory. The fact that we still don't know whose AI it is, whose machine reading, eating up all our data. The fact that, again, what a red flag. One of these engineers got exposed in his last job, which was an internship. He's so young, he kind of has only had one job, it seems, for leaking that client's secrets to a competitor, which usually ends your career in digital, in digital access to data. And instead he got this gigantic promotion, right? What a red flag is that? I guess the reason I keep going on and on about this, even though I've had plenty of blowback, clearly some impact, because government heads of government agencies are also saying, don't respond to this, right? I hope that my warnings have gotten through, or that they reach these conclusions on their own. But the reason I keep saying this is that you've really got to understand, with a cybersecurity breach of this scale, and with machine reading of all of our data, there is no way to fix it. Once it's gone, that quote, you can't put the horse back in the barn. You can't, shutting the barn door after the horse is gone. We only have now, if it's not all gone, to crack down and put in clear cybersecurity protections. But I really, above all, I feel like the people advising the president are in their 60s and even early 70s. They didn't grow up with digital technology. They certainly didn't grow up with AI. You have to stay healthy and well at times like this. You know that I often have suffered from mobility issues, and now I don't. Part of my lifestyle is Native Path Collagen. So Native Path's collagen formula is made with ingredients that are scientifically developed to increase bone mineral density, support tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all of these benefits? So right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, you can stock up on Native Path Collagen for up to an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee. You can try it risk-free today. It is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners, and it's third-party tested for heavy metals, which makes sure that it's pure and safe. It's flavorless. You can add it to anything. I add it to my oatmeal. You can add it to coffee or smoothies. Its formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes without clumping. And the best part is Native Path is offering amazing bundle deals, 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice, and they offer an 800 number. You can ask any question. A real person is waiting to help. You can join a private Facebook community. I love these people. Share recipes, success stories. So that's getnativepath.com/dailyclout and start your experience of transformation today. They're not in the digital technology field, and I have to believe they and the president do not understand. And why should they, right? It's a very specialized, nerdy set of functionalities and processes I just shared with you. And the only reason I understand it is I spent 13 years doing something very similar with government databases for Daily Clout, and working with developers to make products to extract, exactly what Elon Musk is doing, to extract data sets and analyze them and showcase what's important in them. But I have to believe they don't understand, or that someone is mis-explaining what AI does, what machine reading is, what read-only means. I mean, the example I gave in my last essay is Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Treasury, who's a very good guy and very well respected, went on television and reassured everybody, don't worry, it's read only. Well, that means one thing to human beings in human space. It means you're not going to Xerox the pages and put them in your briefcase and take them home with you. But it means something completely different in digital technology. Read only means you can copy it and you can machine read it. And if you machine read it, it goes elsewhere, right? It's yours. So I have to conclude that people at the top need to have the cybersecurity concerns, the IP concerns. Another red flag I raised in my earlier essay is we spend billions of dollars in our federal government, and it's a good use of our taxpayer money, building our own platforms and our own digital tools. This is our intellectual property. It's very valuable. Well, Musk, has a lot of competing products. For instance, he's developing a tax payment processing app. Well, his machine reading presumably sucked up the IP and the code for our tax payment processing software. That's our IP, and to repeat something I've said earlier, one reason I'm so alarmed by what I'm seeing here is that in reading through legislation, which I do routinely for Daily Clout and for BillCam, which is our legislative database product that lets you socially share bills, I saw many bills, and of course, bills are written to be hard to understand and legalistic so that you don't see what they're really stealing or who's really benefiting. But many of these bills, for instance, related to geoengineering technology, right? But many technologies. The whole point of the bill, or else a clause in a completely unrelated bill, would assign the IP to stakeholders that were unnamed. And then the stakeholders turned out to be venture capitalists in Silicon Valley or technology companies. So this is a massive wealth transfer of our treasure, like that IP, developing a software platform, developing code that does things, right, is one of the most expensive, the most research and development is the most expensive part of any digital technology company. Everything else is secondary. So these bills just suction code and digital tools in many industries, right? Infrastructure, energy, environment, solar power, nuclear power, electric cars, Internet of Things. So much technology gets sucked from the federal government to these private stakeholders so that they don't have to build their own. They just, have our taxpayers build it, and then they lobby a congressperson and they introduce a bill that no one can read or understand, and then they get all our software. Well, with the machine crawling of everything in the federal government that Doge is doing, he can copy all our software, right? All of our IP, and just reproduce it, right? We don't know if he's got a non-compete. We don't know if he's got a non-disclosure. We don't know that there are any protections against his just sucking up all of the software that we've developed. And I guess the other reason I'm very, very worried about that is that right now there's a situation in which some people whose job is cybersecurity tried to stop them from accessing this code, which I'm just telling you, as a CEO of a digital technology company, that's your number one job for your shareholders, is not letting your code get stolen, right? Protecting your code, protecting your patents, protecting the things that you've built and developed. And the number one thing that unethical software companies try to do, Facebook does this all the time, is they won't sign NDAs, and then they'll just copy, whatever they learn when they have meetings with people, right? So I was very worried that the people who seemed to be stepping up to say, hey, wait, you can't copy that. That's proprietary code that belongs to the federal government, got put on administrative leave or let go. And the reason I'm worried is that I've been a White House spouse and I've been a political consultant. And I know that once you have that situation, everyone's scared to speak up. And so literally it's going to take outside independent, non-broligarch technologists to speak up loud and clear, and there are not that many with huge platforms, and the oligarchs make sure they don't have a very big voice, just like this podcast is being dialed down a bit substantially. And they're going to need to, continue to raise these warnings. But basically, what I'm worried about is that unless the heads of agencies, unless there's a real civil war within the Trump administration, kind of Doge, non-Doge, which actually would be a good thing, unfortunately. It's better to be all unified, but in this case, resistance is good. You're going to have a situation in which there's no one with technical knowledge who's willing or able to advise the president and the heads of these agencies about what these dangers are and how to fix them. And the last thing I want to say, because lots of people are saying, which is a very bad faith argument, I think, oh, you don't support, clearing out waste and fraud. Oh, you don't support cleaning up the federal government and the abuse of our taxpayer dollars. I do support that 1,000%. But as I said at the start of this essay, Elon Musk could get all those good headlines for the president, not have to retract them, not have to delete some of his work, which itself is unethical, in journalism and in government, right? You show correction, you don't just delete an error. But he could do all of that. He could clear out all of the waste, abuse, and fraud, probably even better, with proper cybersecurity controls in place. So they have nothing to do with each other, right? You actually work better with proper cybersecurity controls in place. You don't have to work as fast. They're clearly working so fast because, well, this is an inference, right? But the only reason it works so fast is you're trying to work so fast, maybe to do a shock and awe thing to, gut the deep state before the deep state can bite back. Maybe, I don't discount that. But certainly, if there are no good cybersecurity controls over what you're doing, you work fast to get all the data, which doesn't take long, right? Once you're given access, before they close the doors, the digital doors. So, as I warned in The Sack of Rome, once Elon Musk and his allied companies, and you're seeing alliances now, like with the announcement about the AI, $500 billion investment in AI that President Trump made like the first week he was in office. You're seeing alliances of the oligarchs now that you've never seen before, that I haven't seen before, except with COVID, which is concerning. But you're seeing Oracle and Microsoft and, Musk and all of his companies, like 6 different companies aligning with that AI effort. And it's very easy for Musk to align with a couple of major companies and have what he has said he wants to develop, which is the Everything app, which would make him more powerful than, as I said, be a control grid, can switch any of us off, turn off our banking, things we wouldn't even know, right? Not like the truckers. They knew they were being switched off, but he now has the capability to, put pressure on private banks to not lend to his competitors, or to identify people critical of him or the Trump administration or his businesses, right? And make sure their kids don't get student loans, or that the rates of the loans go up. They can mess you up in so many ways, right? He can see all the secrets and contracts of his competitors. All their contracts, which again, if you're running a digital technology company, that means the contracts are the map of the company, right? Because you'll know, like if anyone could see our contracts, which presumably he can now, you'd know where our API comes from. And that's something that we try to protect. It's part of, when you run a private company, your obligation to your shareholders is to keep the secrets of the company, how it works, how it has a competitive advantage, secret. There's nothing nefarious about that. It protects shareholders' investments and value. And so now he can immediately outperform all of his competitors because he knows exactly what their business strategy is, who their funders are, who their vendors are. And so he becomes what I've been trying to warn the president, who doesn't want to be less powerful than anyone, understandably. It makes Elon Musk more powerful than President Trump, more powerful than Putin, more powerful than Xi. Um, and certainly it emasculates Congress completely, right? So, and much as easy as it is to hate Congress and to hate the federal government, as I said in my earlier essay, if you think you hate calling the Social Security office now to find out what happened to your check, and you hate the lady who's unhelpful answering the phone, wait till there is no lady. Wait till you're interacting with AI, which gives you 3 chances at a chatbot and then switches you off, or doesn't pick up the phone if you've ever criticized Elon Musk on social media or any of this. And the last thing I'll say, I might as well say it, just to give you some sense of why I'm so concerned about this. I was in active litigation with Elon Musk and Twitter when I read that he had access to all of our stuff, including theoretically my tax returns. And my posture in litigation was, I don't need your money. I don't need a settlement. It's more important for me to, fight on to the Supreme Court. That was my legal posture. I can't give too much detail because of the terms of the settlement. But imagine, I'll just say this generally, imagine you're in litigation with Elon Musk and he can suddenly see exactly what you earn. And he can see that you do need the money, right? What does that do? It means no one will be able to sue Elon Musk. No one will be able effectively to sue Elon Musk. And the other thing I want to say is that I've also experienced the power of being a dissident at the receiving end of X's abuse of dissidents. Twitter and Facebook went along with President Biden's pressure on them to censor us under a totally different administration. But they didn't resist very much that I could see. They could have fought it with their lawyers. I didn't see that they fought it very much. I saw the emails that came out in disclosure through the lawsuits against the Biden administration by attorneys general of Missouri and Louisiana. And they just went right along with it, it seemed. They were like, oh, okay, we'll censor these dissidents. And I experienced, tweets that didn't exist, right? That I had posted and then 10 seconds later deleted because I realized they were badly worded or sounded not like what I was trying to say. The only place they existed was in Twitter, right? In Twitter's own servers. So those got reproduced somehow around the world, discrediting me. And somehow there was a campaign, run by AI, which I didn't even know existed at that time, but it changed my bio and placed similar bad news stories about me, calling me a crazy conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer around the world. And my whole life turned upside down. I lost a 6-figure investment in my business. My reputation still hasn't recovered. There's not enough money left that they could possibly give me to make up for the loss of my reputation that they brought about, because I'll never enter history in the same way again. Conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, whatever, all that nonsense will always be part of my bio now. They're not cleaning it up, right? And so my point is they could do that to anyone. They could do that to anyone. And that was before they, now add, they know where you live. They know who your business partners are. They know, I haven't even talked about blackmail. Your medical records, which I fully expect them to try to obtain through Medicare or Medicaid, bypassing HIPAA. That's if you've ever been treated for venereal disease, if you've ever been treated for alcoholism or drug addiction, right? If you've ever had herpes, right? I mean, I could go on. That's all, psychiatric problems, treatment, right? Bipolar, depression, all of that will be in Elon Musk's hands if my analysis is right. And again, no one has contradicted it or said I'm wrong. No one, including not Elon Musk or the White House. So at all of that, right? And basically anyone can not only be turned off, but they can be unpersoned reputationally and economically now. Elon has all the power. All right, so now there's a lot of comments. Isn't that interesting? There were no comments and then a lot. Sarah Allspaw says, wow, censorship. Pop says, thank you for your work. I appreciate your perspective and your honesty. Interesting. James Green said this, and someone else mentioned this, which is fascinating. It was the seer God who advised King David about his census, 2 Samuel 24, 1 Chronicles 21. That is really interesting. Censuses can be quite dangerous. Sarah Allspaw says something very important I'm going to read. I work in tech, so I realize I understand more than most, but I feel like I'm living in the twilight zone or something. Sharing your work and doing my best to help people understand the lack of understanding and concern is scary. I totally agree. And it's very, I could talk to you about this all day long, Sarah, but that's where we're at right now. People in tech understand how scary this is, but like Sarah, they feel like they don't have a voice, they don't have a platform. And now it's scary to go up against the two most powerful men in the world, one of whom I support and one of whom I don't, obviously, but they're working together. And Sarah Allspaw says that's the bottom line, everything app, exactly. And Breezy Vibe says Elon has all the power. And Gaia Dance says, love from me in New Zealand. Thank you. So just back to the technology question. Dear, how to say this? And Larry says, I see this as a patient allergic to vax. The info pops up. The hospital has all your info and is shared everywhere. Exactly. We've been fighting against all of those efforts to bypass HIPAA. The fight we did in 2023 to get 33 states to pass legislation banning vaccine passports. That wasn't about transmission. It turns out the vaccine did nothing about transmission, which I knew early on. That was about creating a database with your medical records in it, which is so valuable, but also valuable as a metric to turn you off and on. But I was just going to say, and then I'll stop here. We've come to the end of our time. People really need to give some thought to digital technology. And also I really ask other people in tech to step up and email me if there are things you want to explain, or just make your own videos explaining things about AI, about machine reading, about algorithms, about intellectual property protections, all these issues involved right now, because there are very few people who can translate digital technology to everybody. And I consider myself lucky that I'm an English major, and I started out understanding nothing about digital technology and very, very laboriously forced myself to follow what our developers were saying to us. I had to. Where can we email you? Naomi@dailyclout.io. But we need to have the technologists of the world, and especially of the United States, patiently explaining these issues again and again, what the risks are, what they see, their knowledge base, in non-techie language. And that takes some practice, but we all need to try to do it, because there has to be a quick learning curve. Just like we had a quick learning curve, all the non-doctors and non-scientists, we dove deep. And again, I'm not a doctor or scientist, into the Pfizer papers. We quickly learned how to read peer-reviewed studies. And now lots of people who are not doctors or scientists understand the science, right? So I just want to reassure everybody, this is not a field that you can't understand. And again, I'm encouraging technologists to step up and explain things patiently. But I really I'll just leave by saying, it's so interesting, the parallels. Doctors and scientists tried to gaslight you by acting like they're a priestly caste and they understand things you can never possibly understand. And that was a lie. And they did that to protect their own privilege. But tech bros are doing the same thing. And we have to have a fast learning curve of everyone in America quickly learning what tech does and doesn't do, and especially what AI does and doesn't do, because people are being very gaslit and dazzled and distracted by, oh, Expedia, Etsy, all of these fun, easy to use interfaces that are digital technology. So you think, oh, it's protected, or big deal. I've been in a hack of my social security number. Nothing happened. It's fine. There's a much darker side, right? And this is the issue of our time. And even the courts don't understand it, right? And the last thing I will say is the courts have to go through an evolution, because right now they're literally saying, oh, it's fine because they're not, we made them shred the documents. Well, there is no shredding with digital technology. Like, the court doesn't even understand what's at issue when they issued a stay. Oh, that's a very interesting question. Vanda Grubb says, where do I get educated on what tech does? I can't refer you to anything. A good source is Wired. That's a very good readable publication. TechCrunch also. But there aren't a lot. I will look into that and post an answer to you and all of you about that question. But I think clearly we have to run a series of asking technologists to explain the basics of, like, what is cybersecurity, what is IP, and so on. We need that content. We need to explain that. But I guess all I would say for right now is just don't trust experts. That's it. Just don't trust experts. Don't hand over your credulity to anyone, including, as I said in my essay, a president that you support. Keep asking questions. Don't be shy to ask questions. And, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Don't be gaslit. And, we'll keep working on explaining and exposing these issues. I didn't realize what a need there was, but now I do. And I think for now we've made some progress, because I think that at the White House level, there is some pushback, there's some concern and caution, but I don't know. So I will keep you posted. And in the meantime, I need to go. Thank you for listening to me. Please share this because of the clear shadow banning of it. And you can support our work. We really need your support by subscribing to Daily Clout or donating there. And also go to Substack and support me by subscribing to Outspoken. And lastly, please order the Pfizer Papers book on Amazon. And, really, this is a time more than ever when independent media really needs you and needs your support. So thank you for listening to me and supporting us at Daily Cloud. Take care.